So I just finished watching the full press conference for basically the introductory presser for Coach Joe Judge, the new head coach of the New York Giants, and I've got to say, man, I have to say this. I understand why John Mara and Dave Gettleman absolutely fell in love with Joe Judge during their interview. I was trying to figure out why they would want a special team / wide receivers coach that was never a coordinator at the NFL level, never a coordinator at all, just an assistant or a special team coordinator. I'm sorry. That's special team coordinators matter too, but never at any other level, and I could see why. I could see why they love this guy. I love Joe Judge now. I mean, I'll tell you what, when I was first listening to it, I caught a glimpse of it while I was, working, and where I'm at, the connection isn't so good, so I was able to get bits and pieces. But I'll tell you right now, I was driving while I was working and listening to this presser, and I'll tell you right now, it just made me want to speed up and just run through a wall, run through a semi, in my little van, run through a semi truck. I mean, it made me feel that good. It made me feel like I wanted to run through a wall for this guy. He made me pumped up for the New York Giants next season, and I'll get into some quotes of what really explains who Joe Judge is. I have some quotes here that I'll get into, but, first and foremost, you can tell the guy has been under Nick Saban and Bill Belichick. This guy, the way he presents himself, the way he speaks, the way, his body movements are, his philosophies, everything, it resembles a Nick Saban, a Bill Belichick. You could tell he learned a lot and he was a student of the game. He is not someone that just took advantage. He mentioned this. He's not someone that took advantage of the opportunities that were given to him. He sat there, he learned under these guys, and he took what he learned from them and made it his own, and that's what he hopes to do with the New York Giants. One thing I do have to know, if you guys haven't watched this press conference, please watch it, because I'll tell you right now, when I was watching Pat Shurmur or Jerry Reese do press conferences, or even Dave Gettleman sometimes, when he would do press conferences in the draft, I couldn't watch the whole press conference. I couldn't watch them because they were just so long. I'll tell you right now, I was glued to my screen for 32 minutes and 50 seconds. I was glued to my screen. I loved everything that he was saying. Everything was just resembled New York, and he explained, exclaimed how much that this means, for him, and how much it means for him to kind of represent New York and represent the people in their play and their blue-collar type of organization. And he wants all the players and even the coaches to be held to a high standard of a blue-collar mentality. I just love everything that he was saying. He even, towards the end of the interview, because he used to be a kindergarten PE teacher, he even was saying how organized you have to be a kindergarten PE teacher, to always make sure, you have a plan, a structure, and to make sure they're occupied for, what you're trying to accomplish. I mean, the guy had an educated answer for everything. I mean, everything. Down to, talking about, PE, to being an assistant, to being a special teams assistant, all the way to being a head coach, of what he expects himself to be and what we should expect from him. Like I said, he is a breath of fresh air from Pat Shurmur. Listening to Pat Shurmur for 2 years, just not doing, Chris, the entertainer talking sports, calls him stale Pat. I mean, the guy was just boring to listen to. I couldn't sit there and watch a Pat Shurmur press conference or a Pat Shurmur interview. I couldn't watch it whatsoever. It was boring. It was bland. It was repetitive, and it was just very distasteful to watch Pat Shurmur, conduct an interview or, be a part of an interview or a press conference. I can't do it. But this guy, Joe Judge, I'm telling you, he reminds me of my boss that I have at work right now, where he commands respect, but it's not even that you fear to respect him. You fear to respect him, but also you want to respect him. Like, he is someone you will go to war with. He is somebody that you will, be behind should things hit the fan. You know what I'm saying? So, I just love the guy. He's a class act, definitely a blue collar guy, and he's definitely the right guy for this New York Giants head coaching job. He doesn't look like he's gonna squander under pressure. It looks like he's a hard-nosed guy. He's very about himself. He knows he's very confident in himself. He's very confident in the ability of trying to get the right people around the players, to help this team win. And he also said this, somebody asked him, what is the type of culture you want around here? He said, the only type of culture I want around here is a winning culture. And that's exactly what the New York Giants need. That's exactly what I've been wanting for this team ever since Pat Shurmur got here. And, he was talking about winning culture. No, this is what we're going to get with Joe Judge. I'm sure of it. Joe Judge is a class act, and I can't wait to see what we're gonna get from him. And let's get on to some quotes that I got in here. Some of it is a little bit paraphrased. Couldn't really get exact word for word of what he was saying. And he would ramble sometimes, so I kind of cut it short. So here's what Mara was saying here. Mara said, when someone works under people like Nick Saban and Bill Belichick, that's something you have to take note of. And that's something that we all took note of when we saw his resume. We were all like, who is this guy? We know he works under Bill Belichick. And then we look at his resume. He also worked for Nick Saban. And, John Mara took note of it. We all took note of it. And even, like I said, when Joe Judge speaks, you can tell he comes from those type of coaching trees. He comes from a winning culture. The only thing he knows is how to win. So how can he fail right now? It's something we have to wait and see. But as of right now, I do trust Joe Judge. Here's something he said in his opening statements. He said a little bit about myself and how I want this team to be run. He said, we will play fast, aggressive, fundamentally sound. We're going to punch the other team in the nose for 60 minutes with a relentless and competitive attitude. We will not beat ourselves. That is a mission. That is exactly what I want to hear. Though that last sentence right there, we will not beat ourselves. Ever since Pat Shurmur was the head coach for us, we've been doing nothing but beating ourselves. If it's bad clock management, if it's bad play calling, if it's, bad decision making in the beginning of the game and we're forced to play from behind for the rest of the game, we were always constantly beating ourselves and putting ourselves in a position to play from behind and try to win games that way. That is not, I'm sure of it, that is not what Joe Judge is going to put this team under. To not beat ourselves is half the battle. That is half of the battle in American football, is to not beat yourselves. If you have everything fundamentally sound, it's something I could have swore that he said fundamentally sound about 40 times in this press conferences, and it wasn't repetitive, it wasn't bland. It was something I wanted to hear. It was something refreshing to the ears. Fundamentally sound. You won't beat yourselves that way. And he also puts the coaches in a high standard as well. That's not something you see much often. You always talk about the players and how we're going to put these players in the right position, all of these things. He's also talking about the coaches as well. We look at this quote. This quote is a little bit of a long one, so bear with me. I'll put the quote on the screen, as you guys have probably already seen already. So it says, my priority is that we get the right men around these players and that we come to work, and that they come to work every day. They can be coached hard and they can be taught. Before anything, you have to be a good person in this organization. I don't want any alternative agendas. I'm making that clear right now. You guys know the Giants have had some issues in the past with alternative agendas. Odell Beckham Jr., Landon Collins, so on and so forth. Eli Apple. So he said, I'm making that clear right now. There's not going to be a coach in our organization who had nothing but the best interest in our players at hand and is going to come into work every day and put their butt on the line for the guys that's going to work hard for them, meaning the players on the field. I want teachers, not presenters. I don't want someone who looks fancy in front of a screen. He also mentioned how he didn't want somebody, with a fancy scheme and, you'll never win football that way. He is a old school, run the football, stop the run, and, he said cover kicks and things like that. That's the way to win, old school, fundamental football. Like I said, he mentioned fundamentals for, just the whole interview. He mentioned fundamentals. He also said here, I'm not going to be because somebody was asking him about, managing the team and stuff like that. He said, let me just start off by saying this because I know it's going to pop up at some time during this press conference. I'm not going to be the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator, nor the special teams coordinator. By the way, guys, yes, he did keep Thomas McGahee. I'm very happy about that. Our special teams is going to be so sick next year. But he said that, and then he said, I'll work with all three sides of the ball, but the primary focus I'm going to have as a head coach is that we're all fundamentally sound, we are situationally aware, and that we play with relentless effort. So, I mean, how do you not want to run through a wall for this guy, man? I'm just saying, how do you not want to run through a wall for this guy? And one thing he brought up towards the end of the press conferences, you know, I mentioned this when we first hired him, and I said everything, you know, in that video, everything you need to know about head coach Joe Judge. I'll put the card up above if you haven't seen that already. But one thing that I did mention is that Joe Judge, being a special teams coordinator, he has to speak with all of these players on a personal level. He has to get to know these players. He's not a defensive coordinator where he just needs to worry about defensive guys, or offensive coordinator that just needs to worry about offensive guys. He has to be the special teams coordinator and, you know, pick and choose who he wants to play on his special teams, work with the veteran players, work with the rookies trying to make it, work for the guys working for a contract, and things like that, working with the practice squad guys, everybody. Listen, your special teams coordinators work with everybody. They work with everybody, especially, you know, even with quarterbacks when they have to be a holder for some sort, or, you know, or they're playing like a fake field goal situation. They have to use a backup quarterback or something like that. They are constantly used they talk to everybody. They watch film on everybody. Not only do they watch film on the player themselves, but as an athlete. But something he went even further of saying, I'll just read it right here. He says, not only do you have to know them as an athlete, but you have to know them personally. You have to have a relationship with these guys to ask the starting quarterback to be a holder on kicks because of injury, or tell a linebacker you need to do some punt coverage. He also said that he would pull players in the middle of games and say, hey, listen, I need you to play on punt coverage. I need you to play on kickoff returns and things like that. He would tell players that all the time in the middle of games. So you have to have a relationship with all these players. You have to do your due diligence of homework on every single guy on this roster. He said, when it's a 90-man roster, I know all the 90 guys. When it's a 53-man roster, I know all the 53-man roster plus the practice squad guys. He has a relationship with everybody, and that is not going to change as the head coach of the New York Giants. Man, just thinking about this now, like, why aren't more special teams coordinators, head coaches, you know, in the NFL? You know, they have to know all these players. They have a good glimpse of managing a full 53-man roster better than an offensive or defensive coordinator. But he brings up some fantastic points, and I'm just so excited for Joe Judge. I welcome you, Joe Judge. You know, hopefully you do a great job. Listen, just because I like this guy now doesn't mean I'm not holding him to a high standard. It's actually because he holds himself to a high standard, because of how impressed I am of this presser. I automatically am holding him to a high standard. Now, I'm not going to come out here and say that this guy is expected to get 8 or 9 wins. I'm not going to give a win. He also said that as well. I'm not going to, you know, set a goal for how many wins I want, you know, a personal amount of wins. That's not what I'm going to give Joe Judge either. I'm not going to give him a set number of wins you have to achieve, or a set milestone you have to achieve. I'm just hoping he just puts whatever that he said out there, he implements that into his job. Because I don't want anybody that's going to please everybody's ears but doesn't do what they have to do. Now, I don't expect that of him. I think he is going to do what he has to do. But there's always that semblance of doubt there, because we don't really know who this guy is yet, but we have a good understanding so far, and I'm just very excited to have Joe Judge as the New York Giants head coach. But that's all I got for you guys today. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you guys watched the press conference yet, what do you guys think about it? If you guys haven't watched the press conference yet, what are you guys doing? I will leave the link in the description below, so you guys could go and check that out. Watch all 32 minutes. You're probably not going to want to take your eyes off the screen, and you're probably going to want to be listening. Put that volume up and just listen what the guy has to say. He is definitely different from he is the total opposite of Pat Shurmur. Total opposite. The judge is here. Court is in session. That being said, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Leave a like if you guys enjoyed. Subscribe if you guys are new. I'll see you guys in the next video. Woo!